Thanks very much, Anne, and I'm delighted to be here with Robin today as well. Robin's just been appointed Deputy Chair of the Australia Council, and given that we've got important challenges ahead for the National Cultural Policy and the restructuring of the Australia Council, I'm delighted that she's taken on that position, and it's an important connect for, amongst other things, the sort of things we're going to be talking about here today. I also want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which the Parliament sits, the Ngunnawal people, pay my respects to their elders past and present, but also to the Arts and Health Foundation and the Regional Arts Australia and the National Rural Health Alliance. In fact, we had a terrific program in here, another part of the building yesterday, in terms of the National Health Channel, the Rural Health Channel, I'm sorry, which is a great example of joining the dots, of actually looking into this issue of greater social inclusion by using the National Broadband Network, a training dimension, as well as a service delivery dimension. In many ways, these are the applications of e-health, e-training in a creative way that's responding to need and driven by a health-based alliance. So the connection with the arts base and the health base is where we're looking for some more dot joining. I must say, in terms of this, the theme of this conference, I came to it from a personal experience. I was one of my oldest friends in palliative care in the Royal Melbourne Hospital, but he was helped by Emma O'Brien, who, I don't know whether she's Emma. How are you, Emma? Cole was very appreciative of that. They wrote a song together, and I've still got it. I still listen to it, Emma, but it was a great example of a bloke that really had enormous courage, but he didn't have that long to go. In fact, it's amazing he stayed as long as he did. But one of the exercises was to express himself and do it through song. He'd never written a song before. He's a bit like me, we couldn't sing. But Emma and I think Annalise came along to the funeral service and sang it too, and it was pretty uplifting. But thank you for what you did for him. But it highlighted again, I think, the importance of how other things can be used by way of people's well-being. Obviously can be used in terms of preventive medicine as well. But interestingly enough, after that experience, it was John Hill, when he was then sworn in as Arts Minister as well as Health Minister, said he wanted this on the agenda of the cultural ministers. We put it on the agenda, and obviously there's an awareness at that meeting of this forum, but more importantly, I think there's a conduit back through cultural and arts ministers from the deliberations that are being undertaken here. So I think that there is a great opportunity from this forum and the networks that are here to hear from you the research-based body of evidence about how arts can be used to improve health outcomes. I think there's still a challenge to remain, to assemble and utilise the evidence to establish the policy framework, but that's what we're looking to from here. It's also the case that when I look from my own portfolio's perspective, there are plenty of examples of the power of the arts and culture in the emotional and physical health and well-being of our communities. Now, if you just think back, the way in which the arts were used to deal with the trauma associated with the bushfires, concerts, singing, creative spaces that were rebuilt, the community spaces, also the Queensland floods, and they were national, obviously tragedies, but the way in which the communities came together through various forms of the arts, I think people in a national sense saw the opportunity. But interestingly, here in Canberra, the National Gallery of Australia's Arts and Alzheimer's program recognises the problem and offers special tours for people living with dementia. Adrienne Bowe from the National Gallery is also here with us today. Hi, Adrienne. How are you? But it's not only has the initiative been established for the NGA, but it's also helped other institutions across Australia deal with the same sort of issue. Another great developing industry in this country, and it's come off the film industry in particular, and our support for it is the games industry, the creative digital realm. Games technology is being used in innovative ways also for rehab, such as assisting stroke victims to recover their motor skills. Neuroscience Research Australia is using Fruit Ninja, which was an Australian game, originally developed for smartphones, I might add, but it's now being used to assist stroke victims because the movements which are required by Fruit Ninja, and I'm not good at those games either, but they do mimic exercises used in fine motor skills therapy. The arts also has an ability to reach those with special needs, those with disabilities and mental illness, and those who live in isolated areas. So I think that there is the potential from this conference to intersect in that context with the framework that we've got for connecting the arts and the disabilities sector. The National Arts and Disability Strategy, you should be thinking too in terms of how you can build on that. So far as the Indigenous communities are concerned, and you know, I'm often reminded when I do the recognition of the traditional owners that here we have the oldest living culture on earth, producing some of the most exciting new art forms on earth. And it's a reinforcement of the importance of pride in culture and expression of culture. Doing it in new form, but doing it in ways that reach out to different people. And whilst we've got the oldest living culture on earth, we've also, quite frankly, got the most diverse culture on earth. That's what we've attracted, that's what we've drawn. So countries that people have come from are respecters of culture, so finding the way in which we can connect with their special needs, especially in the health space, by going back to cultural experiences and cultural expression, I think is pretty significant and a great opportunity. So far as data from the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Survey shows, people with a high participation in cultural activities have markedly better physical and mental health. And we've got another example of Alison Inkamala from the Tanangera artists. She's an Indigenous artist with a disability, and we've given, through our Cultivate program, the opportunity for her work to be part of an exhibition. Cultivate is another one of our program that has been highly successful in supporting the professional development of artists with disability. And again, the ability to use these programs and connect them to health programs, particularly when we're seeking to close the gap in the Indigenous community, it's another creative way to take that forward. So I think that from all of those examples, there's lots more potential dots. I talked about the dot joining exercise associated with yesterday. You need to be creative about the dot joining exercise here. I think part of the problem with a lot of organisations dealing with governance is they tend to look at the silos. And we need to find more effective ways in which we move across the silos. Governments are not good at it, I tell you the truth, but organisations that are aware of the breadth of programs are the best at it. So in many ways you have to be the drivers. You know, we're developing a national cultural policy, and I'm very keen in terms of that policy to not just see investment in the arts for the arts' sake, I think that is important in its own right, but also to demonstrate the significance the arts have in connecting to so many mainstream other activities, whether it's through education, whether it's through innovation, whether it's through the social inclusion, the Indigenous affairs, but also for this forum, the importance of it through health and ageing. So I think the National Cultural Policy will be in its own way about joining the dots, but I urge you to think creatively about that creative policy and see where your recommendations can fit. I think there is out of this forum today a great opportunity for a national arts and health policy to bring the threads together. The challenge, I think, is for you to bring together your combined wealth of knowledge and experience to develop real directions for a health policy which incorporates the real opportunity working with the arts provides for new approaches to wellbeing and preventive medicine. And just as it's come through the agenda to me, through the Arts Ministers' Council, through John Hill, it's got to be on the agenda for the health ministers. And if we're being realistic, it's going to have to be led through the health ministers. But the truth is, your recommendations, properly made, properly constructed, can feed into the draft paper being prepared by Health South Australia. And the other thing that you've got to your advantage is that you've got in John a person who's both Health Minister and Arts Minister. So he can be your bridge to continue to lead in this debate. What it needs from this group is constructive and strategic input. So I'll leave it at that, but I do want to again welcome Robin Archer. I've always been impressed with and inspired indeed by Robin's passionate support for the arts, but she's a great advocate. I don't know if anyone saw her at the National Press Club recently, Robin, and when you came and spoke at, I think it was at the Elga conference last year too. But Robin's got carriage of the National Centenary of Canberra celebrations here, but being a director of festivals all around the country. But there's the real opportunity with the National Centenary of Canberra to not just have a great festival and a great celebration, but to understand the significance of what this capital has to offer, particularly through its great national collecting institutions, but make them available to the rest of the country. The digital age and our investment in the national broadband network gives us a huge opportunity. You only have to look at the Rural Health Channel to see how huge steps are now being made, how the unbelievable is now believable, and how the aspiration turns to reality because you've got the network and the capacity and the technology. But most of all, the technology only works if you've got the drive and energy and the ideas and the people who believe it and have the conviction to carry it out. That's what we're looking for from you, and look forward to your recommendations. Thanks very much.